I recall working as a therapist and facilitating an SMI group. I think it stood for severely mentally impaired or seriously mentally impaired. And having explored a lot of different spiritual perspectives since my time in counseling psychology, I've come to learn that a lot of times people have experiences that in certain cultures could be seen as spiritual awakening experiences, and if they lived in a different culture, such as many cultures in the West, they would probably be institutionalized or labeled, as this group was labeled. And one experience that I had was that the people in the group were talking about just their boredom in their day-to-day life, and I asked them questions related to watching TV, listening to the radio, and they were like, no. There was like at least a couple, if not more people, that were like, no, I don't want to do that. And I didn't understand it at the time, but people that are labeled, schizophrenic or paranoid schizophrenic, whatever, part of their diagnosis is based upon believing that things are speaking to them, such as the TV or the radio. And I didn't understand it at the time, not having experienced synchronicity, but I believe that synchronicity is one of those things that just blows your mind, and if you don't understand it, and if you don't have any frame of reference for it, you might think you're going crazy. So I'm going to put a link to more information about synchronicity in the description of this video, but ultimately I believe the universe communicates us through synchronicity in different ways. And a lot of people in this group had unresolved trauma, had gone through a lot of difficult stuff in life that really hadn't been dealt with. And so what they were hearing as messages from different sources could have been, different messages from the universe that were uncomfortable and unpleasant for them to deal with. Now, I'm not somebody that is totally opposed to medication. There are people who are just so overwhelmed with what they're experiencing that sometimes medication can help them to function in life. But I do believe that in the West we are over dependent on medication. It's being doled out like candy, and I think that a lot of times people need to look at what they're experiencing from a spiritual perspective if they are going to move through their trauma and their difficulties and so forth. So if you're going through a transition in life, or if stuff is coming up from the past, synchronicity might happen more often, to the point where, you turn on the TV, you turn on radio, or play some random music, and then it just has personal meaning to you. That doesn't mean you're going crazy. It means that the way the universe is set up in this kind of holographic feedback kind of system is that it's all interconnected. And although we don't logically understand the mechanisms behind how synchronicity works, it's clear that it does work. It does communicate to you through any kind of random means, divination and so forth, what can bring things up to the surface for you. So don't assume if you start feeling as though the universe is communicating to you that you're losing your mind. Ultimately, you cannot lose your mind. You can go through situations that are confusing and take you a little while to understand and so forth, but you will not lose your mind. And synchronicity is something that I believe more and more people are going to be experiencing, because this is part of the awakening that's occurring on the planet. In other words, if anything needs to be magnified in your life because you're not dealing with it, or if you need some guidance, or if you need to be tested, on the link that I'm including in the description, check out the article called 4 Types of Synchronicity that I wrote, which is about how it's not like we're just going to be puppets being led around, by guidance. We have to discern what kind of synchronicity is this. Is this something I follow? But don't be afraid if you start noticing patterns in communication in different supposedly random events, because on a certain level, nothing is really random. It's all happening for a purpose. Our job is to figure out what that purpose is, why things are happening the way they are, and adjust to that. Thanks for listening.